Have you ever shared a room with someone and woken up feeling you weren't alone, even with a person sleeping on the other side? Or studied late at night in an empty building and realized the footsteps in the corridor weren't yours? These are real horror stories from students who discover that university campuses and schools harbor dangers no survival manual mentions, roommates with disturbing intentions, intruders hidden in false ceilings, and predators pretending to be teachers. Maya felt a hand land on her neck while pretending to sleep, knowing her roommate was on the other side. Owen heard something crawling in the laboratory ceiling and found a man standing on the stage, just watching. Lena almost entered a car full of kidnappers because she lost her school lanyard. You have 15 seconds to understand that dorms aren't sanctuaries, academic buildings aren't empty at night, and not every adult in a school parking lot has good intentions. Maya grew up in a small West Virginia town where everyone knew everyone, and secrets lasted about 3 hours before becoming supermarket conversation. The university sat close enough for daily commute, but she wanted the complete dorm experience, that Independence movie sold as essential for finding yourself. Finances said no, but desire screamed yes in this scary college story's beginning. August 2021 brought her and hundreds of other freshmen to campus still marked by pandemic protocols. Masks were optional but recommended. Social distancing suggested but impossible in dormitories, and residual contamination fear created strange atmosphere where everyone wanted connection but hesitated at physical proximity. The post-pandemic context shaped every interaction with distrust layers that hadn't existed before in this dorm experience during the pandemic. The dorm room was standard. 2 beds, 2 desks, 2 closets, window overlooking parking lot. Nothing special, nothing scary, just functional as student housing always was. Maya arrived first, choosing bed near window because natural light helped waking for morning classes. She organized her modest belongings, trying not to think about how much empty space remained compared to what wealthier classmates brought. Roommate assignment had been random. System University used to promote diversity, but in practice meant throwing incompatible personalities into tiny space and hoping for best. Maya had received name and phone number, Sloan Richardson. Surname sounding like old money, like families with library wings bearing their names, creating immediate class difference awareness. They exchanged brief messages before move-in. Hi, I'm your roommate. Hello, I'll arrive at 2 p.m. No emojis, no enthusiasm, just efficient communication establishing cold tone from start. Maya tried not to overinterpret. Maybe Sloan was just reserved. Maybe text didn't capture her real personality. Maybe everything would improve in person, but IT didn't. Sloan arrived exactly at 2 p.m. with parents who looked like they walked out of expensive clothing catalogs, bringing absurd baggage quantity including mini-fridge, Persian rug, and designer lamp costing more than Maya's tuition. Parents helped organize with military efficiency, said bye dear without visible emotion, and departed leaving Sloan unpacking while Maya pretended studying to avoid seeming like she was observing. Are you local? Sloan asked without looking, organizing skincare products in perfect line on desk. Yes, about 30 minutes away. Convenient. I came from Connecticut. Pause. My last roommate left after 2 weeks. I hope you stay longer. The comment hung in air like veiled threat or perhaps just factual observation from someone without social filter. Maya laughed nervously, lacking adequate response to statement that could mean everything or nothing. The first weeks established clear dynamic. Sloan controlled space through silent presence Maya could never completely ignore. No direct conflict. No arguments about cleaning or noise, just polite coldness creating emotional distance in physically tiny space. Sloan attended classes, studied, slept, everything in disturbing silence, making Maya feel like intruder in own room, demonstrating creepy roommate dynamics. Class difference manifested in thousand small details. Sloan's clothes came from brands Maya only knew from influencer Instagram. A hygiene product had minimalist packaging screaming expensive, and she casually discussed vacations in places Maya had only seen in documentaries. Not intentional ostentation, just reality so different it made connection impossible across economic chasm in the scary roommate situation. Maya tried building bridges, suggested studying together, invited to cafeteria lunch, proposed exploring campus. Sloan refused politely with vague excuses. Already have plans. Prefer studying alone. Not hungry. After 2 weeks of gentle rejections, Maya stopped trying. accepting they'd a purely transactional relationship of people sharing space without sharing lives. But there were moments where Sloane demonstrated sudden and disconcerting interest. She asked about Maya's family with strange specificity. Are your parents still married? Do you have siblings? Does your mother work? Questions came randomly, usually when Maya was almost asleep or leaving, timing preventing deep conversations but collecting information like field research. And there was Sloane's sleep. She slept in perfectly immobile position, on her back, hands crossed over chest like corpse in coffin. Maya woke frequently during night and always saw Sloane exactly like this, without position change, breathing so light that sometimes Maya needed to observe for minutes to confine chest movement. Not that people can't sleep immobile, but posture perfection during hours seemed unnatural. One night Maya woke at 3 a.m. and Sloane was sitting in bed, staring at wall. Not checking phone, not reading, just sitting in darkness looking at nothing. Are you okay? Maya whispered. Sloane turned her head slowly. Yes, just thinking. Then lay down again in perfect position, and apparently slept instantly. Maya stayed awake until dawn, inexplicable discomfort preventing sleep return. The comment about previous roommates started making more sense when Maya met other students on floor. Oh, you're Sloane's new roommate? Good luck. Laughter that wasn't entirely joking. Last girl moved to another building in middle of night. Refused to explain why. Nobody knew details, just vague rumors about incompatible personalities and irreconcilable differences. Maya began noticing Sloane knew exactly when she entered room, even with headphones and apparently focused on studies. Door opened and immediately Sloane said hi without looking up, without time to process door sound. As if she were waiting, always waiting, hyper-conscious of Maya's every movement in a way that seemed more surveillance than simple roommate awareness. The locked drawer became another mystery. Sloane kept one desk drawer padlocked, unusual in shared room where theft wasn't concerned among two people. Once when Sloane showered, Maya noticed drawers slightly ajar. Inside, prescription bottles, at least a dozen different medications with labels turned inward preventing name reading. When Sloane returned, she immediately noticed drawer position. Shooting Maya looked that wasn't accusatory but assessing, calculating. Monday morning after first weekend home, Maya had spent Saturday and Sunday at parents' house, recharging emotional energy that dorm drained through constant tension of sharing space with Sloane. She returned to campus at 10 a.m. with backpack full of clean clothes and Tupperware of homemade food mother insisted on packing. The room was empty when she entered, Sloane probably in class or library. Maya took advantage of rare privacy to call high school friend, venting about dorm life strangeness without specifically mentioning Sloane. After hour-long conversation that normally would leave her energized, she felt strangely exhausted, limb heaviness suggesting nap need before afternoon class. She lay on bed without removing jeans, just kicking off sneakers and pulling light blanket over body. Sloane wasn't there, so she could relax completely without self-consciousness of being observed. She closed eyes, breathing slowing as she drifted towards sleep, promising restoration after new routine stress. Then she felt it, mattress sinking slightly near her feet. Not dramatically, just subtle depression like when someone sits on bed's edge. Her eyes opened instantly, but she remained immobile, controlling breathing to maintain sleep appearance while mind raced through possibilities. Sloane must have returned silently, sitting on Maya's bed for some inexplicable reason. But when she cautiously opened eyes to slits, Sloane's bed across room showed her roommate lying in characteristic position, on back, hands crossed, apparently deep asleep. The mattress depression near Maya's feet remained, weight pressing down for maybe 10 seconds before releasing. Springs returning to normal position with faint creak. Maya's heart hammered, but she forced stillness, pretending sleep while terror flooded system. Sloane was across room, definitely asleep based on breathing rhythm. No one else could be in locked room. Yet she felt distinct weight, unmistakable sensation of someone sitting on her bed with enough mass to compress springs. She waited 5 full minutes before allowing eyes to fully open, scanning room for explanation. Nothing. Empty floor space between beds, door still closed, window locked from inside. Sloane hadn't moved, maintaining corpse-like position suggesting she'd been asleep entire time. Maya sat up slowly, checking under bed with phone flashlight, dust bunnies and storage boxes. Nothing more. Rationalization began. She'd imagined it, half-asleep state creating false sensation. Mattresses settle randomly from temperature changes or old spring adjustment. Her tired mind had interpreted normal compression as human weight, generating fear from nothing. She repeated these explanations while getting ready for class, almost believing them by time she left room. 2 weeks passed without incident. Maya convinced herself Monday's mattress sensation was fatigue-induced hallucination, embarrassing false alarm her brain generated from new environment stress. She and Sloane settled into cold coexistence rhythm, minimal conversation, coordinated schedules to maximize solo room time, polite nods when passing. Then Sunday night, Maya returned from library at 11 p.m., exhausted from 5-hour study session. Sloane was already in bed, positioned perfectly as always, room lights off except desk lamp Maya kept on for changing into pajamas. She moved quietly, not wanting to wake roommate despite knowing Sloane probably wasn't actually sleeping yet. Her breathing lacked deep sleep rhythm. After changing, Maya turned off lamp and slid under covers. Grateful for day's end, she face wall, back to wardroom center, finding this position somehow more comfortable than facing Sloane's bed across space. Sleep came quickly, heavy and dreamless after mental exhaustion. She woke suddenly, that instant alertness suggesting external stimulus rather than natural sleep cycle completion. The room was completely dark, Sloane's breathing audible across space in steady rhythm. But something felt wrong, present sensation making hair stand on neck and arms. Then she felt it again, mattress compression, but this time closer, right beside her hip, as if someone sat directly next to her. Weight held for a moment, mattress springs creaking slightly under mass. Then the weight lifted and she heard soft thump on floor, like someone jumping down from bed. Her eyes were open now, staring at dark wall while terror paralyzed movement. Footsteps should follow that thump. If someone jumped from bed, they'd walk somewhere. But only silence remained, and across room, Sloane's breathing continued undisturbed, same steady rhythm suggesting sleep throughout whatever had just occurred. Maya counted to 100 before allowing herself to move, reaching for phone to use flashlight. The small room revealed nothing unusual. Floor empty, both beds occupied only by assigned residents, though still closed with security lock engaged. She checked time, 3:17 a.m., the hour between night and morning when reality felt thinnest. Sloane stirred slightly, head turning toward Maya. "Are you okay?" Her voice held no sleep grogginess, crisp and clear as if she'd been awake entire time. "Yeah, just bathroom." Maya lied, fleeing to hall bathroom where she sat in locked stall for 20 minutes, trying to slow racing heart while questions spiraled. Sloane's voice had been too alert, too aware. Had she been awake? Had she somehow caused a sensation? Or was Maya genuinely losing her mind? When she returned, Sloane was sitting up in bed, silhouette visible against windows' ambient light. "You were gone a while. Feeling sick." The concern sounded genuine, but timing felt calculated, as if Sloane had been waiting, monitoring absence duration. "No, I'm fine. Just couldn't sleep." Maya climbed back into bed, facing Sloane this time, unwilling to present her back to room in whatever occupied it. Maya began spending less time in dorm room, filling schedule with library hours, campus activities, any excuse to delay return to space that no longer felt like sanctuary. 2 more weeks passed incident-free, and again she tried convincing herself she'd imagined everything, that stress and new environment had created false sensations her logical mind should dismiss. Thursday night, she had no excuse to stay out late. No assignments due, no club meetings, just exhaustion demanding early sleep. She returned to room at 9 p.m., finding Sloane already in bed despite early hour. "Not feeling well?" Maya asked. "Just tired," Sloane replied without elaborating. Maya went through evening routine quickly, brushing teeth and changing while uncomfortable silence filled space. Sloane's eyes followed her movements. Maya could feel the gaze even when not directly looking, weight of attention that made every action self-conscious. Finally ready for bed, she turned off lights and slipped under covers. She lay on side facing wall again, unable to maintain eye contact with darkness and Sloane's position across room. Her body felt heavy, sleep pulling her down despite mind's protest about vulnerability. She forced herself to relax, releasing tension from shoulders and jaw, letting breathing deepen toward unconsciousness. Then she felt it, a hand landing on the back of her neck. Not tentative, Not accidental, deliberate placement. Palm pressing against bare skin where her hair fell away. Fingers curling slightly to grip. Cold hand. Colder than any living person's touch should be. Pressure firm enough to communicate intention without causing pain. Every muscle in Maya's body locked. She forced herself not to move, not to scream, maintaining pretense of sleep while terror flooded every cell. The hand remained, weight and temperature unchanged, holding position for seconds that stretched into eternities. She counted heartbeats. 1, 2, 3, reaching 40 before her hand finally lifted, leaving cold imprint on skin that seemed to burn despite temperature. She waited, frozen, counting another 100 heartbeats before allowing eyes to open. The room was exactly as before. Dark, quiet. Sloane's breathing steady across space. But Maya's neck still felt cold where hand had rested. Tactile memory so vivid she couldn't dismiss it as dream or imagination. Someone had touched her. Something had touched her. Moving slowly. She reached for phone under pillow, using screen light to check room. Empty. Sloane in her bed, position unchanged, apparently deeply asleep. Maya's hand shook as she pulled blanket overhead, creating fabric barrier against whatever shared space with them. She lay there until dawn, unable to sleep, replaying sensation while questions multiplied beyond answering. At 6 a.m., she called her mother from hallway bathroom, voice breaking as she described what happened. Come home, her mother said immediately. Today, right now. But Maya had classes, commitments, practical concerns about losing dorm deposit. They compromised. Maya would request room change through residential services, returning home until new placement was arranged. Residential services processed her emergency room change request without much questioning. Apparently such requests were common enough to have standard procedure. They offered temporary room in different building while permanent placement was arranged. As Maya packed essentials, Sloane watched from her bed, expression unreadable. Why are you leaving? Sloane asked finally. Maya considered lying, making up excuse about wanting different building or needing quieter environment. Instead, something made her honest. I don't feel safe here. Sloane's expression didn't change. Because of me? The question hung in air, neither confession nor denial, just query seeking information. I don't know, Maya admitted. Things have happened that I can't explain. I just need different space. Sloane nodded slowly. My previous roommate said similar things, that she felt watched, felt touched when she was alone. The casual revelation froze Maya mid-packing. Why didn't you mention that before? You didn't ask, and I wasn't sure it was real. She had problems, took medication for hallucinations. The comment about previous roommates' medication sparked memory of Sloane's locked drawer full of prescription bottles. Do you take medication, Sloane? Maya asked carefully. That's private, Sloane replied, but something in her tone suggested yes, that pills in locked drawer weren't just vitamins or supplements. Certain conditions can cause side effects. Sleepwalking, sleep paralysis, actions you don't remember. My doctors are adjusting dosages. Maya felt simultaneous relief and horror. Relief that maybe everything had rational explanation. Sloane sleepwalking, touching her without conscious awareness, climbing on bed during sleep states. Horror that she'd been sharing room with someone having episodes severe enough to require medication adjustment. Someone who apparently had driven away previous roommate through similar behavior. But questions remained. Sloane sleeping in perfect position all night didn't match sleepwalking behavior. The cold hand temperature didn't match living person's touch. And most disturbing, Sloane's current demeanor showed no embarrassment or concern about admissions, just clinical detachment suggesting either complete honesty or calculated manipulation. Where's your new room? Sloane asked as Maya zipped suitcase. The question felt wrong, too personal for someone she just told she didn't feel safe around. I'd rather not say. Sloane smiled slightly, first smile Maya had seen from her. That's probably wise, but it doesn't really matter. Buildings aren't far apart on this campus. The comment felt like threat disguised as observation, suggestion that physical distance wouldn't create safety if Sloane chose to close it. Maya left without goodbye, dragging suitcase across campus while looking over shoulder repeatedly. The temporary room was smaller, shabbier, but felt safer through sheer newness. No history, no incidents, no Sloane. That night she slept deeply for first time in weeks, waking refreshed and grateful. But on her desk, someone had left folded note. No envelope, just paper creased precisely in half. Inside, single sentence in handwriting she recognized as Sloane's. I hope you find what you're looking for. The words seemed innocuous, but timing was impossible. How had Sloane known her temporary room assignment? Who had let her into leave note? Maya never reported the note or inquired how it arrived. Some questions were safer left unasked. She finished semester in temporary housing, then transferred to different university entirely following year. She heard later that Sloane had gone on medical leave, returning home to Connecticut for health reasons. Whether that meant medication adjustments or something else, Maya never learned. Some mysteries don't deserve resolution when distance provides adequate protection. Owen had always been a dedicated student, type who scheduled study sessions like athletes schedule practices. University of Huddersfield lab building offered perfect late-night environment. Quiet, minimal distractions, lab equipment humming creating white noise that helped concentration. Thursday night became his routine, 8 p.m. to midnight in third-floor chemistry lab, working through problem sets while campus emptied. The building's isolation appealed to him. During day, labs bustled with students and faculty, conversations and movement creating chaos incompatible with deep thinking. But after 7 p.m., building cleared except for occasional graduate student or dedicated professor. By 9 p.m., Owen usually had entire floor to himself, just him and periodic security guard rounds through hallways. He'd been following this pattern for 2 months without incident. The building felt familiar now, its quirks and sounds memorized through repetition. Water pipes clanging as heating system cycled. Ventilation fans creating low hum. Occasional settling noises as old structure adjusted to temperature changes. Normal sounds, ignorable sounds, background acoustic wallpaper that actually aided concentration. This particular Thursday started like all others. Owen arrived at 7:45 p.m., claiming his preferred lab bench near windows overlooking campus. He spread materials across workspace, textbooks, notes, laptop, coffee thermos that would keep him alert through 4-hour session. By 8:15 p.m., he was fully immersed, pen scratching across paper as he worked through quantum mechanics calculations. First hour passed without awareness of time, state of flow where external world ceased existing beyond problem solving. But at 9:30 p.m., something broke concentration, a door slamming on same floor, echoing through empty hallway. Owen looked up, frowning. Late-night lab users were usually considerate about noise, knowing sound traveled aggressively through vacant building. He returned awake, assuming graduate student had arrived for night shift, would settle into own routine shortly. But 10 minutes later came footsteps in hallway, heavy and measured, pacing back and forth outside lab door. Not walking toward destination, just repetitive path like security guard on rounds. But security guards typically announce presence, opening doors to check rooms, not pacing external corridors. Owen tried ignoring it, focusing on calculations. But footsteps continued, rhythm hypnotic and disturbing. Back and forth, always same section, a hallway directly outside his lab. After 15 minutes of this, he stood up, irritation overcoming caution. He'd open door, check who was pacing, maybe ask them to take walk elsewhere since their noise disrupted concentration. His hand reached for door handle just as something grabbed it from outside, rattling handle violently. Not turning to open, just shaking. Testing lock, aggressive movement suggesting frustration or determination. Owen jerked hand back, heart suddenly racing. The rattling continued for 5 seconds, then stopped. Footsteps resumed, but now they sounded faster, more agitated, pacing accelerated by failed entry attempt. Owen backed away from door, mind racing through possibilities. Security guard testing locks, but guards had keys, wouldn't need to rattle handles. Graduate student who forgot their key, but they'd knock, ask for help, not just pace outside. Drunk student who wandered into wrong building? Possible, but something about the rhythmic pacing suggested purpose rather than confusion. He pulled out phone, checking time, 9:47 p.m. Not yet 10, when security typically did rounds. He could call campus security, report strange activity, but would they take seriously complaint about footsteps and handle rattling? He'd sound paranoid, waste that time on something with innocent explanation he hadn't considered. The footsteps stopped. Complete silence replaced rhythmic pacing, absence of sound somehow more disturbing than noise had been. Owen waited, counting seconds, reaching 90 before allowing slight relaxation. Maybe whoever it was had left, descended stairs, exited building. Maybe he could return to studying, laugh tomorrow about how jumpy he'd been. Then the ceiling noise started. Scratching, dragging sound coming from false ceiling tiles directly above his position. Something moving up there. Something large enough to make suspended tiles shift and creak. The lab ceiling held vac ducts, electrical conduits, telecommunications cables, maintenance crawl space that wasn't designed for human access but technically allowed movement if someone was determined or desperate enough. Owen's eyes tracked sound movement across ceiling, watching tiles shift slightly as weight passed over them. Whatever moved up there was heading toward far end of lab, where old access panel allowed maintenance workers to check systems without ladder. The panel had been painted over years ago but could theoretically be pushed open from above. He grabbed his belongings, shoving laptop and textbooks into backpack while keeping eyes on ceiling. No more studying tonight. Survival instinct screamed that remaining in isolated lab with something crawling overhead was a terrible idea regardless of innocent explanations. He'd come back tomorrow, during daylight hours when building hosted normal population, when footsteps and ceiling sound would have witnesses beyond himself. Slinging backpack over shoulder, he moved toward door, checking hallway through narrow window. Empty corridors stretched in both directions, fluorescent lights humming at frequency that made reality feel slightly unreal. He pressed it against door, listening for footstep sounds. Nothing. Whoever had been pacing apparently had also climbed into ceiling, pursuing whatever objective brought them into false ceiling crawl space. He opened door slowly, minimizing noise, stepping into hallway while glancing both directions. Still empty. He moved toward nearest stairwell, 20 feet down corridor. Steps quick but controlled. Behind him, ceiling tile lifted slightly in lab he'd just left, displaced from below by something pushing upward. He didn't look back. The stairwell door opened under his hand, revealing concrete stairs descending into building's lower levels. He started down, taking 2 steps at a time, one hand on railing. Above, stairwell door opened again, but from 3rd floor or higher, impossible to tell. Footsteps echoed in stairwell's acoustic chamber, distorted by concrete surfaces into location ambiguity. Someone was on stairs. Question was whether they were above or below him. Owen accelerated descent, abandoning noise caution for speed. His footsteps clattered against concrete, echoing upward and downward, making approaching sounds impossible to track. He focused on reaching ground floor, getting to main entrance where campus security desks sat, where witnesses and help existed. 2nd floor pass and blur. 1st floor landing appeared ahead, metal door with safety glass windows showing lobby beyond. 20 more steps and he'd reached safety. Explanations could wait until adrenaline stopped making hands shake. 15 steps. 10 steps. 5. He looked up and stopped dead. Above him, leaning over railing from 3rd floor, a man stood motionless. Too dark to see features clearly, but body positioning was wrong. Torso leaned too far over railing for casual observation, head tilted at angles suggesting intense focus. Just watching, not calling out, not explaining presence, just observing Owen's flight with detached interest. 4-3 seconds they locked in visual contact. Frozen tableau of hunter and prey. Then man straightened slowly, deliberately, maintaining eye contact throughout movement. His hand reached towards stairwell light switch visible on 3rd floor landing. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed stairwell except for emergency exit signs, providing dim green glow. Owen lunged for 1st floor door, hitting its shoulder first, momentum carrying him through into lit lobby. Behind him, footsteps descended stairs rapidly, abandoning stealth for speed now that chase was acknowledged. He sprinted across lobby, past empty security desk. Where was guard? And burst through main entrance into cold night air. Campus stretched around him, buildings lit and populated, normality reasserting itself through witnesses and light and open space. He ran toward dorm building, not looking back, lungs burning, backpack bouncing against spine. Only when he reached dorm's main entrance, scanning ID card and pushing through into secure lobby, did he allow himself to stop. He leaned against wall, Gasping, checking watch, 10:03 p.m. Less than 15 minutes since everything started, though it felt like hours compressed into minutes through adrenaline time distortion. He never reported incident to campus security. What would he say? Someone walked in hallway, went into ceiling, stood on stairs? All technically legal, all potentially innocent, all made sinister only through context and implication. But he abandoned late-night lab study sessions permanently, finding library carols or coffee shops for evening work. Some lessons require only single experience to learn completely. Weeks later, talking with lab mates, he mentioned casually that building felt creepy at night. One student went pale. "You studied there alone? After dark?" She told him about previous incidents. Graduate student who claimed someone followed her in stairwells. Professor who reported lab equipment rearranged overnight. Security guard who refused working night shift there after seeing figure in third-floor windows when building was empty and locked. No one knew who or what haunted chemistry buildings' upper floors. Administration dismissed reports as campus legend, student imagination, probably homeless person who'd found entry point and used building for shelter. But guards still worked in pairs there after dark, and custodial staff avoided third floor unless absolutely necessary. Lena had attended Lincoln Preparatory Academy since 7th grade, knew every corner of campus, every rule, every staff member. The ID badge system was ironclad. Students needed badges for building entry, cafeteria access, even library use. Losing badge meant immediate replacement fee and temporary paper pass that flagged you as careless. So when Lena's lanyard broke during lunch, spilling badge into cafeteria trash, she panicked. It would cost $50 to replace, money she didn't have, plus disciplinary note in file for losing school property. She spent 20 minutes digging through garbage bags before giving up, accepting that she'd need to report loss and face consequences. After final class at 3:30 p.m., she headed to administrative office to report lost badge, explain situation, beg for reduced replacement fee. The office was closed. Staff left at 3 p.m. on Fridays. Sign explained. She'd have to wait until Monday, meaning weekend without badge access to any school facility. As she walked towards student parking lot where her mother would pick her up, a man approached from teacher lot. Mid-40s, business casual clothing, carrying leather briefcase, standard teacher appearance that raised no alarms. He smiled warmly. "Lena, right? I'm Mr. Harrison, new history teacher. Principal asked me to give you a temporary badge until you get replacement." He held out generic ID card. Relief flooded through her. She reached for badge, grateful for easy solution. "Thanks. I was so worried about replacement fee." He gestured toward parking lot. "My car's just over there. I have paperwork you need to sign for temporary badge. Parent signature required. Takes 2 minutes." Something felt off. Lena couldn't articulate what. Just vague unease like forgotten item nagging at memory. "Can I sign Monday? My mom's waiting." He maintained smile, but something in eyes shifted. "Better to handle today. Policy requires same-day documentation for security reasons." Still polite, still plausible, but unease grew. She should trust adult authority. Teachers didn't harm students. School property was safe. But feet stopped moving toward his car, body responding to instinct brain hadn't fully processed. "I'll just get replacement Monday. Thanks anyway." She turned toward pickup area. His hand caught her elbow, gripped firm. "It'll only take a minute, Lena. Don't make things difficult." Tone had changed. Warm friendliness replaced by commanding insistence. She pulled arm free. "I said no." Started walking faster toward pickup area where other students and parents gathered. He followed, not running, not grabbing again, just following 3 steps behind. "You're being very rude. I'm trying to help." But his position blocked her from pickup area, herding her toward far corner of parking lot where teachers parked, where fewer witnesses lingered. Panic sparked. She ran. Full sprint toward school entrance. Badge required for entry, but door would open from inside if someone exited. Behind her, footsteps accelerated. She risked glance back. He was running now, briefcase abandoned. 2 more men emerging from car he'd indicated, all converging on her position. The school entrance stood 50 yards away. Students still visible through glass doors, safe inside where card access prevented external entry. She screamed, wordless, desperate sound designed to attract attention. Faces turned toward her, confused expression processing scene. Student running, 3 men chasing, something clearly wrong. A teacher opened door, Ms. Rodriguez recognizing Lena. She dove through entrance just as first man reached for her, door closing automatically behind her, locking through magnetic system. The men stopped at door, trapped outside without valid access, staring through glass while Lena collapsed against wall, gasping. Ms. Rodriguez called campus security while other teachers gathered, creating protective circle around Lena. Through glass, 3 men retreated rapidly toward car, engine starting before security officer appeared. They peeled out of parking lot, but license plate was caught on exterior cameras that documented every vehicle entering and exiting school property. Police arrived within minutes, took statements, reviewed security footage. The car was stolen, plates fake, men unidentified. But hotel receipt and discarded briefcase led to arrest within days. Human trafficking ring that targeted private schools, identified students through social media and attendance records, used lost ID badges as entry point for approach. Lena's parents pulled her from school despite administration's assurances about increased security. She finished high school online, never fully recovering sense of safety that had been shattered in those minutes between losing badge and nearly losing life. Therapy helped process trauma, gave her tools for managing PTSD triggers, parking lots, men in business clothes, anyone offering unexpected help. Years later, she speaks publicly about experience, educating students about safety protocols, about trusting instinct even when adult authority seems legitimate, about how predators study systems, exploit weaknesses, use social conditioning against victims who've been taught not to question authority. The attempted kidnapping had been sophisticated, targeting student known to have lost badge, impersonating teacher convincingly, using school property as trap while exploiting victims' desire to avoid trouble. If Lena hadn't trusted instinct over social training, if Ms. Rodriguez hadn't been near door, if cameras hadn't captured license plate, the outcome would have been different.